let's talk about something that can be deeply personal. And sometimes, honestly, a little painful. Why does it so often feel like our prayers just hit a ceiling? Today, we're going to dig into that feeling of divine silence and explore what might be happening.
I mean, who hasn't been there, right? You're praying for something important, for healing, for a little guidance, for some kind of breakthrough, and all you hear back is, well, nothing. It's a really common human experience, and it definitely makes you wonder, what is going on here?
So, to help us unpack this, we're going to dive into an analysis that breaks down 5 specific biblical perspectives on this exact feeling. Let's see what it has to say.
Okay, so the way this is all framed is around a series of barriers. And the first 2 are pretty interesting because they're things that, for the most part, are within our own control. They have to do with our own intentions and our inner state.
So, barrier number 1 is what the text calls selfish motives. And the idea here is pretty straightforward. If what we're asking for is purely about our own pleasure or personal gain, it might not line up with a bigger, greater purpose. And because of that, it might not get the yes we're hoping for.
And this isn't a new idea. Not at all. The book of James in the Bible puts it so directly. It basically says, hey, when you ask and don't receive, it might be because your motives are off. It's a real gut check moment, making us look at why we're asking in the first place.
All right, the second potential barrier is this concept of unconfessed sin. You can think of it like having bad reception on your phone. The idea is that if there are unresolved issues or things we're holding on to that we know are wrong, it can create a kind of spiritual static, making that clear connection a lot harder.
And the biblical source for this thinking comes right out of the Psalms. This verse is pretty clear. It's not just about making a mistake, it's about if I had cherished sin in my heart. That word cherished, like holding on to it, protecting it, that's what's seen as the real obstacle here. It's all about the condition of your heart.
So, those first 2 were really about what's going on inside of us, right? Well, now we're going to pivot a little. These final 3 barriers shift our focus outward toward broader ideas like faith, trust, and a divine plan that might be way bigger than what we can see.
Okay, number 3, a lack of faith. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be perfect or have 0 questions. It's more about a deep, fundamental doubt. If we're asking for something, but deep down we truly don't believe it's even possible, well, that doubt itself can become its own barrier. And wow, just listen to the powerful metaphor the book of James uses for this. Someone who doubts is like a wave of the sea, just blown and tossed around by the wind. You can just picture it, can't you? That total instability? It really paints a picture of why a solid foundation of belief is considered so essential.
This next one. Oof, this one can be tough for a lot of us. Barrier number 4 is wrong timing. We all want things to happen on our schedule, right? Like yesterday. But this perspective suggests that maybe our timeline isn't the timeline. And sometimes the answer isn't no, it's just not yet.
And of course, this immediately brings to mind that beautiful, famous passage from Ecclesiastes. There is a time for everything. It's this profound reminder that there's a rhythm to life, a bigger season at play that we might not be able to see from our vantage point.
And that brings us to the 5th and final barrier.
And you know, this is often the most difficult one to accept. It's simply called God's will. It's the possibility that sometimes the answer to our prayer is a straightforward no, because what we're asking for, as much as we may want it, just doesn't fit into a larger, sovereign plan.
This whole idea is really rooted in passages like this one from 1 John. Notice the crucial condition there. If we ask anything according to His will. This completely reframes the purpose of prayer. It's less about getting what we want and more about trying to align our own desires with a purpose that's much bigger than us.
So after going through all 5 of these potential barriers, where does that leave us? How should we really think about this divine silence? Well, the analysis suggests we might need to totally reframe the whole idea.
So, just to do a quick recap, we've looked at our own selfish motives and any unconfessed sin. We've talked about a lack of faith. And finally, we touched on the much bigger concepts of divine timing and God's will.
And all of this seems to point toward one huge, game-changing idea. What if prayer isn't transactional? What if the point isn't just to get answers? Perhaps that silence isn't an absence at all, but an invitation. An invitation to trust more, to listen harder, and to deepen that spiritual connection.
And that really leaves us with a final question to think about. If we start seeing prayer not as a request line, but as an act of building a relationship, how does that change everything?
How might that shift the way we approach it day to day? It's a powerful thought to end on.